I think the idea that people think that they know you, I think because of the how intrusive media is these days, there's people care so much more about your personal life than they do your work. And
so I really look at I love a challenge though, and I'm just so proud of every bit of it. We went through a whole roller coaster of the human experience, and I'm very proud.
But I was like just tracking him down, and then I finally got to read the script, and the script was a thriller. So that was a little confusing to me because he's like such a funny director.
Yeah.
And so I said, what is this? Because the script is definitely like a twisting, turning, intense thriller.
So let's see what Marvel and Ryan Reynolds has going on today, guys.
Marvel devotees were left reeling upon hearing that the studio had taken the stunning measure of filing a lawsuit against Blake Lively. For a brand that rarely engages in open confrontations, especially against high-profile names, this turn of events felt like a seismic shift. Whispers circulated that the legal action stemmed from Blake's alleged use of confidential Deadpool material for personal gain, with suggestions that she leaked classified elements to shift the narrative around her own spiraling disputes elsewhere. Fans of both Blake and Deadpool found themselves grappling with an almost inconceivable reality. Could the actress once celebrated for her warm public image have delved so deeply into Marvel's protected secrets that the studio felt compelled to intervene? For months, rumors about mounting tension behind the scenes had percolated across social media. They initially centered on Blake's involvement in a new film adaptation directed by Justin Baldoni. Optimism had soared when that project was first announced. Blake, with her polished reputation, teaming up with a filmmaker lauded for heartfelt storytelling. Yet it didn't take long for tensions to emerge. Blake allegedly took issue with Justin's multi-role approach. Not only was he directing, but he'd also co-written the script and intended to star in it as well. Observers on set sensed friction when Blake seemed to feel overshadowed, her creative input sidelined by Justin's comprehensive control. Although the tabloids seized on stray whispers of on-set disagreements, the friction might have gone largely unnoticed if Blake hadn't publicly charged Justin with planting negative stories about her in the press. She suggested that because of his broad creative authority, Justin had the connections to seed unflattering rumors, depicting her as temperamental or intrusive. Initially, some believed her. Hollywood, after all, has a history of powerful figures influencing narratives behind the scenes, and fans sympathetic to women in entertainment, who often face lopsided scrutiny, flocked to her defense. However, Justin and his team responded with robust evidence, unveiling entire chains of text messages. These records called into question Blake's version of events. Rather than Justin being the puppet master, the communication seemed to show Blake threatening to deploy her own power circle, an inner circle rumored to include Ryan Reynolds, her husband, and the charismatic star behind Deadpool's cinematic success, to force compliance if her demands weren't met. References to dragons and urgent calls with influential media connections turned the lens toward Blake's potential behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Public opinion shifted. The storyline began to paint her as the possible manipulator rather than the victim.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
All this might still have been contained within typical Hollywood strife, albeit a sensational one, had it not bled into Marvel's domain. Deadpool, a once risky venture that Ryan had championed, had skyrocketed into a major moneymaker for the studio. Audiences adored the wisecracking mercenary, and Ryan's comedic style melded so well with the character that he seemed irreplaceable. The comedic interplay both on-screen and off made him one of Marvel's most bankable stars. For a time, that synergy appeared unassailable. Yet as the details of Blake's dispute with Justin emerged, so too did rumors that Ryan's resources, and by extension, Marvel's top-secret intellectual property, might have been referenced or used to bolster Blake's position. The notion that Deadpool-related material could be weaponized to distract from negative press or to undermine someone else's standing was almost beyond belief. But the rumor mill buzzed. Marvel's lawyers were quietly reviewing documents pointing to the possibility that Blake had leaked confidential bits about upcoming Deadpool projects or storylines to overshadow the intensifying negative attention around her feud with Justin. Fans found it difficult to picture how Deadpool's secrets could be leveraged in an unrelated film squabble. The simplest explanation was that any sensational snippet about the irreverent anti-hero, plot details for a new sequel, cameo revelations, or even incomplete script lines could grab headlines, conveniently shifting the spotlight. If Blake needed to derail coverage of her rumored power plays, dropping a bombshell about, say, a cameo from a major Avenger in Deadpool's next adventure would divert fans and reporters alike. With Ryan at the heart of the Deadpool franchise, it wasn't inconceivable she had access to the type of privileged information that Marvel guarded closely. What transformed speculation into a legal bombshell was Marvel's eventual move to file a formal suit. In the company's carefully phrased announcement, they alleged that an individual had intentionally misused proprietary information tied to a tentpole property. Though Marvel's initial statement didn't explicitly name Blake, sources familiar with the matter confirmed her identity. In hushed tones, Marvel insiders revealed that the studio believed she had systematically leaked, or suggested she would leak Deadpool's secrets, as part of a calculated effort to cover or overshadow negative press swirling around her professional battles. The industry's reaction was immediate and explosive. Marvel had never filed such an overt legal action against an actor's spouse.
But I was like just tracking him down, and then I finally got to read the script, and the script was a thriller. So that was a little confusing to me because he's like such a funny director.
Yeah.
And so I said, what is this? Because the script is definitely like a twisting, turning, intense thriller. Is it a comedy or a thriller? And he said, yes. So then every day on set, I was like, is today a comedy or is it a thriller?
It's a good mix
and
of
it's
both.
like, yeah, it's like really kind of over the top and campy and trashy and fun and like,
It's a
kind
comedy.
of like my outfit, I guess.
Let alone someone considered adjacent to the franchise. This was not an everyday lawsuit like contract disputes or missed deadlines. Instead, it touched on alleged sabotage from within, someone close to the star responsible for the very property at risk. Observers pointed out that if these allegations held water, it indicated a shocking breakdown of trust between Marvel and the Reynolds-Lively household. Blake's representatives swiftly issued a statement denying any wrongdoing. They insisted she never possessed official Deadpool secrets and thus could not have leaked them. They attacked the suit as unfounded and punitive, suggesting that Marvel aimed to scapegoat her for broader internal leaks. Yet such defiance clashed with the swirl of unedited messages that had emerged from her dispute with Justin, messages that made her appear comfortable with using behind-the-scenes influence if it suited her. Suddenly, fans and commentators were left to wonder how far that willingness extended. The drama overshadowed even Ryan's comedic flair. Usually quick with a quip or a social media gag, he fell uncharacteristically silent. Some believed he'd receded to craft a defensive strategy, while others speculated he might feel conflicted over the lawsuit's target being his own spouse. Could he stand by Blake publicly, risking friction with Marvel? Or conversely, align with Marvel's concerns at the expense of his marriage? The complexities grew by the day, with neither Ryan nor Marvel revealing details about their private discussions. Justin Baldoni, having unwittingly lit the spark by releasing text messages in self-defense, found himself fielding a barrage of inquiries that had little to do with his film. He responded carefully, reiterating that his original aim was to clear up any false impressions regarding his directorial style and creative choices. He expressed surprise that Marvel became a key player in the drama. In a few interviews, Justin acknowledged that if Blake actually used Deadpool's secrets to shift press coverage, the situation was more alarming than he initially realized. Still, he remained measured, emphasizing that his main concern lay in finishing his adaptation rather than stoking an already fierce legal inferno. The legal complaint from Marvel hinted at breaches of confidentiality, potential economic damages, and possible contractual violations. Though Marvel didn't disclose the sum or specifics they sought, analysts guessed it could involve not only monetary compensation, but also an injunction to prevent any further release of sensitive details. The specter of depositions loomed. If the case progressed, attorneys could theoretically demand phone records, emails, and text logs from both Blake and Ryan to ascertain whether Marvel's secrets had indeed been used as leverage. Given how personal this conflict was, the possibility of more private communications hitting the spotlight seemed almost guaranteed. Suddenly, Hollywood realized that what had begun as a smaller-scale friction, Blake versus Justin, was morphing into a potential reconfiguration of major star power alliances.
We always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. This is a horrible thing to say. And he's like, I mean, I've got a long list. And I was like, oh, really? Because I just have 1 on my list. I didn't. I don't have anyone on my list.
And then it wasn't funny anymore.
No, it's so much more of a burn. He's like, wait, who? And I was like, think of someone. Think of someone. Bob Newhart. I don't know.
Would Ryan remain the face of Deadpool if his wife stood accused of undermining the very brand? Could the franchise realistically continue with Ryan in a leading role if Marvel's relationship with Blake became hostile? Observers found the question both sensational and deeply consequential. Meanwhile, fans split into factions. One side struggled to accept that Blake would intentionally sabotage something that brought her husband so much success. After all, Deadpool had revived Ryan's career, catapulting him from comedic roles to a top-tier blockbuster mainstay. Why would she risk harming that synergy? Another contingent believed that if the text messages in Justin's saga proved anything, it was that Blake could be extremely strategic, perhaps caring more about controlling narratives than about potential collateral damage. That group pointed to the abrupt departure of Blake's attorney, citing irreconcilable differences with her version of events, as evidence that she might indeed overstep. The debates only intensified once intangible rumors gave way to more specific allegations. A few smaller entertainment websites claimed they'd received exclusive tips from sources close to Blake, previewing upcoming Deadpool cameo appearances or script changes. Marvel's complaint purportedly included time-stamped evidence linking these rumors to the same period when Blake faced the fiercest scrutiny over the Justin Baldoni feud. If proven accurate, it might strongly indicate that she or her camp strategically released classified tidbits at moments when the tabloids grew most fixated on her behind-the-scenes conflicts. The coincidence would be difficult to ignore in any court setting. In the midst of it all, tabloid coverage ballooned to a fever pitch. Reporters camped outside Blake and Ryan's home, hoping for comments. They dissected any subtle changes in the couple's social media presence, searching for hints about their next move. Fans speculated if Blake would attempt to settle out of court quietly, or if she might respond with a countersuit alleging that Marvel had unfairly singled her out. Another rumor suggested that she might publicly apologize, painting the entire ordeal as a misunderstanding or a spin gone wrong. But no immediate resolution came. Each day brought new speculation, but few concrete answers. Marvel, cautious yet firm, indicated they stood by their decision to sue. Inside the studio, staff told journalists that the brand's integrity was paramount. Releasing Deadpool secrets, intentionally or otherwise.
I think the idea that people think that they know you, I think because of how intrusive media is these days, there's people care so much more about your personal life than they do your work, and if you aren't open with your personal life, then they just make it up for you and share it for you.
Threatened their carefully constructed future storyline arcs. Over the years, Marvel had gone to great lengths to maintain confidentiality, employing strict NDAs, security protocols on sets, and coded scripts to thwart leaks. If one of their own stars' spouses had sidestepped those measures to manipulate the media, it represented a crisis larger than any single star. Ryan, faced with public pressure, finally broke his silence in the form of a short statement on a personal platform. He said he held enormous respect for Marvel and intended to see the matter resolved fairly. The statement avoided direct mention of Blake's alleged actions, focusing instead on his appreciation for the character that revitalized his career. Curiously, he refrained from defending Blake outright, nor did he suggest she was innocent. In effect, he maintained a neutral stance, likely reflecting a precarious position. Losing Marvel's trust could jeopardize future roles, while throwing his wife under the bus could create personal turmoil. Blake's immediate response to Ryan's neutrality was unclear. Insiders speculated that tension between them grew as the lawsuit escalated. The usually playful social media interactions between them waned, replaced by generic or promotional posts that offered no insight into their personal dynamic. Some fans hypothesized they were presenting a unified front behind closed doors, mapping out a plan to prove Marvel's claims untrue. Others believed friction might have emerged if Ryan had known about Blake's alleged leaks, but never anticipated it would reach a legal flashpoint. Industry watchers recognized the high stakes. If Marvel's lawsuit succeeded or uncovered conclusive proof, Blake's career could face a long-term hit. Studios might shy away, wary of potential controversies. But if Marvel's case faltered, if they failed to produce clear evidence that Blake orchestrated strategic leaks, her name might eventually be cleared, though the mere rumor of such behavior could linger. Marvel, for its part, risked unsettling fans by seeming overly litigious. Yet the company presumably wouldn't have embarked on such a dramatic course unless they believed they had a compelling cause. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni managed to wrap up principal photography on his adaptation, though overshadowed by the swirling chaos. While he refrained from discussing Marvel's lawsuit at length, he did admit it was surreal that a personal conflict from his set had escalated to tangentially involve one of the biggest entertainment juggernauts on the planet. He empathized with the fans caught in the crossfire, those who wanted Blake to be exonerated, those loyal to Marvel's brand, and those simply stunned at the entire spectacle. A handful of crew members remarked that they never imagined the behind-the-scenes friction would reverberate so far beyond their immediate production. As the legal process trudged forward,
I mean, I internalized that as opportunity. We had such a responsibility to this audience to deliver something and to have the opportunity to deliver something for a passionate group of people.
Yeah.
As someone who is so deeply passionate myself, I was so excited about that. I would so much rather have that than people who are indifferent.
Blasé.
One thing became increasingly clear. The result could reshape not just Blake's future, but also that of Deadpool. Marvel's creative team typically plotted far in advance, weaving characters and story arcs across multiple films. If the trust with Ryan deteriorated, or if the studio insisted on reevaluating his role, fans might witness a major pivot. A comedic anti-hero known for meta-humor might vanish or be recast, upending an entire sub-franchise. Blake, facing intense scrutiny, might eventually request a private meeting with Marvel leadership to offer a direct explanation. Rumors circulated that she considered revealing her phone logs or personal records to show she never specifically shared Deadpool's planned storylines. Yet, cynics pointed out that in the messages Justin released, she seemed adept at circumnavigating direct references, implying certain truths without explicitly stating them. If Marvel's internal evidence traced certain leaks to people affiliated with her, the case might hinge on whether the disclaimers in her text messages constituted real disclaimers or strategic deniability. The fan community, for its part, wrestled with complicated feelings. They adored Blake's earlier films and her public persona, friendly, fashion-forward, seemingly unguarded. Simultaneously, they revered the Marvel brand and the wisecracking Deadpool persona that turned Ryan into an industry powerhouse. Seeing the studio locked in a legal standoff with the actress complicated allegiances, especially if both parties were widely loved for different reasons. Online debates flared. Was Marvel going too far? Or were they right to defend their secret-laden empire? Through it all, Hollywood observers deemed the event a cautionary tale of how swiftly private disputes can escalate when big franchises and big personalities collide. One day, Blake was a revered star, embroiled in a mild dispute with a director. The next, she faced a lawsuit from an entertainment titan. The lesson gleaned was that star power doesn't necessarily grant immunity from consequences if you tread too close to crucial intellectual property or veer into territory that threatens a studio's meticulously orchestrated plans. Where it all leads remains to be seen. Litigation can be unpredictable, and hush-hush settlements are a common resolution in Hollywood, where few want the public spectacle of a drawn-out trial. If a settlement does arise, details may be sealed, leaving fans in the dark about the real depth of the allegations. Alternatively, if neither side backs down, the court case might progress to depositions, possibly unveiling a trove of communications confirming or discrediting Marvel's perspective on the matter. Whether the matter resolves quietly or culminates in a headline-grabbing court battle, the entire affair underscores how precarious stardom can be, even for those perched at the top. One day you're commanding the spotlight on red carpets. The next, you're facing allegations from a titan of popular culture, all because the boundary between personal ambition and professional ethics became blurred. For better or worse, Marvel has drawn a bold line in the sand with this lawsuit against Blake. No matter how beloved an actor or their inner circle may be, secrets that power an entire cinematic universe are not to be toyed with. And crossing that line can trigger a level of backlash that even the biggest stars would struggle to withstand.